We've been working on embedded memories for quite some time. Embedded memories really started with us sharing our scar stories with Marissa. Each person took that to mean a very different thing, whether that's internal, very personal scars or physical scars that you can actually see on the dancers' bodies. And it really started with an interview process.
It's really, it can be really personal. It's my story embedded in this piece, as is all the other dancers, and that's kind of what makes it special. It's like no one else can do it the way we kind of do it, because it's our story and our experience, layered on with Marissa and others' experiences as well, but like it came from our stories. So it gets a little emotional. Like I didn't really think I was gonna have such a real reaction until our first performance in Sandy Hook.
Marissa asked us questions about, the experience of whatever our scar was. And from there, she built some gestures and some movement, and we kind of started to collaborate as a group from that starting point. What it means to me, it is a very emotional and personal piece because it is created from our personal stories. So it does have a very special kind of intimate sentiment when we're all dancing together, knowing that we created it and it has evolved so much since the beginning.
Embedded Memories has been developed into a much longer piece that encompasses everybody's scar stories and also encompasses the scar stories of community members and the audience members that we've presented the piece to. So Embedded Memories has never really been the same performance twice. It's always different, which keeps it really interesting for returning audience members and the Bolero dance fans, as well as for us as performers.
So I had previously worked with our lighting designer, Allison, right before the pandemic, just a little bit. And then so I sort of knew her style a little bit. I knew that she created these really interesting art pieces with light and other materials. So I had a sense of what it was going to look like to work with our lanterns, but it's not real until you hold the thing, and even practicing without it, it's not real until you're like holding the thing and feeling the weight of it and like feeling the battery pack fall out, which happened tonight, feeling like things go wrong, but also like how to manage all of that.
Marissa developed a solo for each one of us based on these very personal stories that we gifted her, as she likes to say.
It's quite special because I have formed pretty strong friendships and relationships with Hannah and Nicole and Marissa kind of through our work in this piece together. We didn't know each other before we started rehearsing, and my first time actually meeting them in person was at the farm in Connecticut for rehearsal. So it is a very special kind of personal world that we create together, and it feels like a little bubble when we're performing, and we've done it in so many different places and times, and the story has really evolved as we've evolved. So it's just very special.
So dancing with props is a whole different ballgame than just dancing without props, without having to consider other objects.
One of the ways that she worked through her process, her healing process, was to experiment with Reiki and with a Reiki practitioner. So that was a sort of newer addition to our piece. She's really interested in kintsugi and that process of healing and how you can sort of still see the scars. And then she interviewed all of her dancers. I, like mid-performance, was like, oh crap, everyone's gonna like see a very vulnerable side of me. That's scary. But I think that's like a really nice, insanely cool thing about art that I was unprepared for. But I'm really happy I experienced it. And then as I've sort of like done this piece more and I've sort of gotten more comfortable, not super comfortable, more comfortable being in that vulnerable place, I've started being like, well, how can I use the symbol of healing, the symbol of light, the literal light and symbol of healing in our structure, our lighting structure, So I often reach for the light and pull it into myself, and sort of like bring some of that healing, bring some of that positive energy. It sounds really cheesy, but like positive energy in. I think that's sort of been like a process for me. It's like getting comfortable with my story and it being out there, and then how do I bring sort of actual healing in for myself. So it's definitely been a journey, I would say.
As performers, we obviously are dealing with really personal stories to us, and we know each other's stories, and so we treat the movement that has been developed around those stories with a lot of tact and care. We usually, when we're performing in front of an audience, Embedded Memories feels so much different because we are telling these deeply personal stories to people that we don't know, but also sometimes people that do know us intimately and maybe do know our stories. And there's a lot of vulnerability there for us as performers. And so the end result, when we combine the lights and the stories and the movement, we end up with a really magical result that's different every time.